much for being here, a part of this conversation about AMBI and skin wisdom. I'm Val Warner, and I'm so excited to lead this conversation because that's what this is all about. It is a conversation. I'm not moderating a panel. I'm with my sisters, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. But first, we need to introduce everybody here. And I want to start off with you, Blake, because you're right here near me. Tell us your name and a little bit more about Blake.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Blake Gifford. I am an attorney and content creator here in Chicago. I am not originally from Chicago. I grew up in Georgia, but I've been here about 8 years. This is home for me. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about skincare and all things self-care.
And tell us a little bit more. What kind of attorney are you and about your brand? Yes.
So I started out as an intellectual property attorney, so trademarks, copyright, social media, internet law, entertainment law. I've been a creative my entire life. I'm talking like winning coloring contests in kindergarten.
So your entire life?
Literally my entire life. So I had to find a way to like still be a creative while being an attorney. And so I found my lane in that and then ended up segueing into content creation full time. I do mostly fashion, lots of home decor. I have clothing lines with Amazon that we launch a couple times a year. So all the things, working all the time.
How did you switch lanes though, from intellectual attorney to now content creator and do it successfully to build the brand that you have?
Well, so I went to law school with the plan to actually be a public defender. Got there, did that for one summer, cried the whole time, realized I couldn't cry for 40 years. So I went back to law school and I was like, do I need to leave? What should I do? Because I'm not on path to kind of do what I thought I wanted to do. And my dean had a conversation with me about a former student who had gone on to become in-house counsel for Tom Ford.
Ooh.
And I said, oh,
okay.
I had the same response.
That sparked your interest.
I said, I didn't know that was a thing, but now we're talking.
Yes.
So, but at the time, most intellectual property attorneys have chemistry, physics degrees. So I needed to find a back door, and for me, back door was marketing. And I kind of started in the content creation lane, trying to go that route of IP, and it sort of blossomed into its own thing.
Voila.
Yeah.
Vanessa, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you built your brand.
I'm Vanessa Bouie. I'm actually originally from Cincinnati, but I do live here in Chicago, and I am owner and CEO of Fancy Homebody, which is a lifestyle brand. We specialize in luxury loungewear and casual essentials.
Oh, now, is this something that you always wanted to do? What was your journey like?
Not at all. So I have a marketing background, went to Columbia here in Chicago. So always worked in marketing, doing lots of boring jobs, but it paid the bills. So it kind of just led me into, in my later 20s, being a young mother of 2 babies, wife. I just started to lose my sense of self a little bit. Working from home is always, you're just in your house all the time. You don't really find yourself being out and about that much, but I actually really enjoyed being a homebody and really embraced that about myself and my introverted ways, so to speak. So I kind of felt like I wanted to start sharing a little bit more on social media. So I just started posting just about my life, being a mom, being a wife, being a homeowner, and being a homebody, and started kind of just gravitating towards other women who really related to my content. So it wasn't like I was trying to set out to build this brand. It kind of just happened, a happy accident.
Yeah.
But basically I did see that there was a void in the market for a brand that really spoke to millennial women, that was something that could be for a woman who might be a mom, might be, have priority shifts or career changes where, she doesn't have time to get dolled up like that anymore. She might just have a lot going on and she might be in the house. Those women and myself still deserve to feel comfortable and confident and beautiful. And I wanted to speak to that woman. So I wanted to launch Fancy Homebody in 2020. It was actually right before the pandemic, where we launched online just with essentials, sweatshirts, t-shirts, that sort of thing, and has now grown into a full-fledged loungewear and casual line.
So you were making working from home popular before working from home became a thing in the pandemic.
Yeah. That's what we would talk about a lot, and honestly, I just embraced it again. It was something where I felt like I used to be the hip girl, you know, always out and about and have all these cute little things to go to all the time. And now I found myself with 2 little boys and a house and a husband to take care of, and I still wanted to feel cute and confident and feel like myself again. So I wanted to create something that I could be comfortable in.
Right, and I love Fancy Homebody. How did you come up with that title? Like, did that come to you or did somebody give it to you?
No, it came to me. It just came to me.
Yeah.
I don't really have an interesting story about that. It came to me one time. I was on the couch.
And it stuck. And clearly it's working for you.
And it's working, yes.
All right, well, I love that. And Hayet, finally, over to you over there at the end. Tell us a little bit more about your story and who you are and how you build your brand.
My name is Hayet Rida. I'm originally from Accra, Ghana, but I've lived in Chicago for, I think this is my 10th year. The last time I checked, I have to cross-check. So I worked in advertising for about, 10, 11 years, and then I worked in tech, and then also was sort of sidelining as an influencer that entire time. And then I'm a full-time founder, CEO of a sculptural jewelry brand called Koi.
And tell us, that it's just not that easy. I've interviewed her before. She's telling you the very short version. Tell me about Koi's birth.
Yeah, so Koi actually started, I had a partnership with a jewelry brand. I was supposed to do one collection, sort of like fine jewelry. And I told them I wouldn't do the collaboration because I didn't like their packaging. So I have a very design background. So they said, okay, design the packaging and then you can have them, you can do our collection with us. And then they pulled out of the deal a month before it was supposed to launch. And I had 10,000 pieces of packaging on a ship on the way to me. And, at that time it was a brand that was gonna be diamonds and gold. So the packaging was like lush velvet. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna figure out some accessories. I'm just gonna quickly, get and design. And until when the packaging is done, then, I'll move on. And so 2 years later, we have a flagship store in Chicago and several sort of amazing people. I've peeped a couple people in here wearing it. So that's kind of how we went from a mistake to an actual brand.
And you said something too, because you were also in another industry, in another field, and you were kind of sidelining as an influencer on the side. And when did you realize that people were interested in your content and that, there's something actually to this to make you go full time?
So I think this is also one of the interesting things. I think a lot of us started off in the influencer world before you could actually make money. It was sort of, for me, it was like the journey to self-confidence. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna write stuff out there. And I actually did it so that when my niece was 18, I could tell her, go here and read everything about how I built self-confidence.
So you were like journaling your life.
Yeah, literally. A bit too much, actually. The website is gone now. But what do you call it? So I think it was like year 6 when it became, influencers could make money. And then you're like, oh, this is a business. So it started off like truly genuine. And I think the beauty of that is the community you built actually got to know you. They've seen you grow. They've seen you go through, from starting, I'm sure we all knew the cameras and the photos we all had from the beginning, and they've seen and like grown with you, almost like best friends or sisters.
Right, that's awesome. Well, all of you ladies, this melanin is popping up here. Clearly, you got beautiful skin. Let's discuss now you guys' generational skin care routine and what did that look like? What were you taught growing up about your skin, being a Black girl? Blake, why don't we start with you?
Okay. So I feel like my story is maybe a little different. I don't think I was taught anything about my skin. Mm-hmm. I grew up in foster care, and I grew up in settings where I was often the only Black kid. And so nobody was talking to me about my skin. No one was talking to me about my hair. In fact, they were expecting me to kind of ignore it and pretend that I could use the same products and buy the same shampoo. And a lot of times I really struggled with my hair and with my skin. I had acne most of middle school, all of high school. And actually that's how I found AMBI once I was in college and had 10 cents to spend on my own. And I found their Dark Mark, their Fade Cream, because I had acne my entire life. And so
how many people in this room can relate to that story? Like, I think that might be collectively our universal AMBI story.
That's the product, like the entry product. For
Yes.
most of us. Yes. So I grew up like dermatologists over and over and over and over again, and nothing that they were doing was helping my skin. And it wasn't until I found the AMBI product that I found something that worked for me. And I remember like talking about it on Instagram, and these were like early Instagram days, and I was living in New York, and I would talk about it, and I remember the brand would like interact with me via Instagram, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, because I was like, wait, these people are talking back to me.
They're paying attention to me, they know me.
Because for so long, like she said, like we started these blogs where we were kind of just talking into the void. So to have someone talk back, it was like, oh, I'm being heard. And as a Black woman, I think that's a feeling that many of us don't feel often. It's like someone hears me, someone understands my story, someone understands what I'm experiencing. So I think AMBI and other like Black skincare products was like my first introduction to like products that were for me.
Right.
Because I didn't have that really growing up.
Now, I know I'm not on the panel. I'm supposed to be asking the questions, but I'm about to insert my story right here real quick, because you know what, you made me think about something that I had not actually remembered or paid attention to, and especially when I was looking at these questions, I was thinking, I don't remember my family or my parents or anybody really talking to me about taking care of my skin. I felt like that's something that I learned in my adult years, but like you, I'll never forget, Brandon Martin in 8th grade told me,
Brandon Martin.
Okay, didn't I say I would never forget?
Oh, they don't like Brandon.
Said, you can play connect the dots with all the acne on your face.
Brandon, come to the front.
But talk about scarring, no pun intended, that scarred me, right? And so I remember getting the Fade Cream. I remember like thinking like how horrible my skin was. That affected my confidence, right? And I did everything I could on my own to try to figure out, and that was one of the products early on. Like if you had a dark mark, I had chicken pox. If you had anything like that, what did you go get? You got some Fade Cream, right? And you get a little dab, and you put it on all those little spots, and before you knew it, your skin was back all the same color. So thank you for that story, because you jogged that in my memory. Brandon Martin, Wait, is this being shown all over?
Hey,
Just
Brandon.
kidding, no, I'm not. Vanessa, what about you growing up? Did your family or mom, sister, dad, anybody talk to you about what skincare looked like for Black skin for you?
Yes, for sure. Similar to what Blake was saying, is I did struggle with acne at a young age. We all, my mother, my sister, myself, we all started puberty very early. So I felt like we got to see the ugly side of the skincare and skin very early on, whether that's acne or even stretch marks from growing too fast. And that sort of thing was something that I was introduced to as a little girl. So I felt like by the time I was 12, I already knew who my dermatologist was. My mother was very keen on self-esteem and making sure that me and my sister had self-esteem and confidence. So she wanted to make sure that we were at a dermatologist and were taking care of the acne. So that was definitely something that was a big deal in my household. Like the strongest of that, I was an Accutane patient. So all of that was like a real big part of my childhood and growing up. And then of course, that then leads to dark marks and hyperpigmentation. And of course, AMBI was always a staple in our household. So that was something else that I dealt with growing up as far as confidence and, people saying things at school, and me being one of the youngest kids still having to deal with that sort of thing. I remember having to put concealer on my face when I was still in elementary school. And girls like making comments about that, like you have makeup on, like what's on your face? And it was because of dark marks. So I think that skincare goes hand in hand with self-confidence and self-esteem. So always trying to make sure you have those staple pieces with you. So AMBI and a lot of other stuff was in my kit early on.
You know, I think what's interesting about what you said is that your mom was really paying attention and really advocated for you and your skin and wanted to make sure that, you know, it made sure that you were confident with taking you to the dermatologist and being proactive. As a boy mom, I don't know, how old are your boys?
7 and 9.
Okay, so they probably don't have acne or anything.
No, they
yet.
have eczema though.
Okay. Okay, so you're very proactive with them, I'm sure,
Of
too.
course, yes. And it's funny because we just started talking about like, let's do a skincare routine.
And the boys are into
Yeah,
it. So this is for everybody.
For sure. So of course they're not using all the fancy stuff that mommy does. But you know, I do let them know that it's even important for little boys to take care of their skin and acne and that whole conversation and making sure, you know, get that together.
I have a 16-year-old son who I am preaching that to right now. Who else has any teenage boys in here? You know, Trish, right? And so, you know, my daughter, I have a boy and a girl, 21-year-old girl and a 16-year-old son. My daughter's very into, you know, skincare and routine and washes her face and everything. The boy, I cannot get him to understand, like, it is important for you to take care of your skin, especially as an athlete. You're sweating, you need to, like, wash your face, and I'm gonna have to get some of this product for the acne marks that he's had. And I keep telling him, because I was scarred, you don't want to have bad skin when you become an adult because it does mess with your confidence and your self-esteem. So it starts when you're young. So whereas my parents necessarily didn't, you know, push it or it wasn't a priority in our house, I make it a priority as a parent now to my kids. So just wanted to share that. Hayet, what about you growing up in Ghana?
Yeah,
What was
so
it like?
I think what was really fun was my mom, I'm the 5th child on her side.
Are you the baby?
Of course. Do I not act like it?
Well, I'm just wondering if she kept going after 5 kids.
After she met me, I mean.
That was it. She needed no more.
So, you know, she was a single mom raising us, and also she was an interior designer, so she was always working. So there was 2 slots you had. It was either in the morning when she was watering the orchids or in the evening when she was doing her skincare. So I owned the evening slot. And so I would sit on the edge of the bathtub and she would like be talking about, she had like 13 things. And like also just thinking about in Ghana, half of these products were not there. So the first time I saw AMBI was she had just come back from America, because the first time I came to America, I was probably 15. So it's like, you know, you weren't really exposed to this. And she was like, and this is what I brought from America. And it was like that pricing, like, ooh, America. And then, you know, she was using it. And, you know, my mom was very big on, she's like, I started anti-aging when I was 20 and all that kind of stuff. And now my mom is almost 75 with like the skin of like a baby's bottom. And like, you know, so it was a very intimate moment of, you know, she'd walk you through. First, she'd start here and she'd remind me your neck is part of your face and, you know, all of those kind of things. So for me, skincare was like me and my mom sort of conversation.
That was your thing. So ladies, what is your skincare routine like today as adults? Anybody want to take it first?
Wow.
It's a long one?
It's a long one.
Okay, well, let's start with you, Vanessa. We got time.
Okay. So I double wash. I usually do like a benzoyl peroxide based cleanser.
Okay.
And then I also do a vitamin C cleanser.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do nighttime. So that's what I do at night. And then I also do a toner, of course. Hyaluronic acid. Any type of spot treatment. Of course, heavy on the moisturizer. Serum. I love my vitamin C. And eye cream.
Wow, you guys do all of that in this
I feel
room?
like a slacker.
I was gonna say, okay, we'll get to me last now because again, I'm not on the panel.
And sunscreen during the day.
Okay, you're right. That was a lot, and it was encouraging. Something for us also aspirational to work toward. Blake, I think you and I are like tracking on a lot of stuff. It's not.
I tell my dermatologist, you got 2 products. Really? Make them count. I'm just not that girl.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I'm a little bit scarred because I was in a dermatologist's office like weekly as a kid. And so now I am a moisturizer and sunscreen girly.
Okay.
I'll use other products when I have a breakout or when I have something very particular going on with my skin. But for the most part, most days, sunscreen, moisturizer. That's all you're gonna get out of it.
Stay moisturized, keeping it simple.
I think I'm one of those people who want to be like Vanessa.
Yeah.
So I'll watch every video and then I'll go to Sephora and buy everything. And then I'll just wash my face and then I'll be like, wait, what time? And I'm like, okay, then you get those things. It says put this, before this, and then I can't keep up. But I hope to improve myself this year. It's on my list too. I feel like we have to call Vanessa and be like, walk me through this again.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, right? Because I mean, we're talking about social media and the world that we live in, and if you scroll, you see one person's doing this and one person's doing that, and then before you know it, you've bought all these products, and where are you putting them in your bathroom, and then how are you using them? So what about in terms of not just the routine and the products, but how do you guys take care of your skin in terms of going to the dermatologist or maybe your esthetician?
I do chemical peels a couple times a year. I always tell myself, like, after this chemical peel, I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna start using my products for real this time. And then that never happens, and then we do another one. So it just, I'm working on myself.
Yes.
Filler. I do under eye filler for darkness under my eyes. That helps. It's like
I've been so curious about that.
Oh, it is. Swear by it. It is amazing.
Is it? And you know what? This is one of the things that we talked about before we even started this conversation about this being a safe space and it's not a judgmental space. So can I just say thank you for being transparent and open about that? Because I don't know that people voluntarily want to admit that, oh yeah, I got filler, but I have been so curious because we tend to see it in a lot of other folks, not necessarily us. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, like with age, you lose a lot of the
volume, right?
in your face, and that creates shadows on your face. So sometimes, like, yes, some of the darkness under your eyes might be genetic or it might be hyperpigmentation, but for some people, it's merely just a shadow on your face.
Yes.
So for me, it was about putting back some of that volume that you lose underneath your eyes as you age, and immediately, like instantaneous. I do it like once a year.
Okay, where's my phone? I'm about to make it a book. Who's going with me? Okay, so you have just influenced a lot of people.
I've got
you
a number
looking
you
at you,
call.
you can't tell.
Oh.
You always, let me speak for myself. I tend to think that, oh, you're gonna tell, like if you get it, like it's gonna look completely different. And I have been around you and known you down through the years, would never have guessed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of it is like finding, my dermatologist is a Black woman, understanding what's like important in our community and understanding that like a natural finish is important to us and like aging gracefully. I think that's something else that like, I'm 36 this year, and understanding that like aging is normal, aging is beautiful. A lot of people don't get the chance to age. So it's not about like looking 21 forever. It's just like aging gracefully and understanding that like I want to look like myself, but I want to look like the best version of myself. I don't want to look tired every day. I don't want somebody asking me like, girl, did you get some sleep last night? Like, let's not, please.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, I just want to look like the best version of myself, and being in a place where I can have access to that treatment, I'm gonna avail myself to that treatment. It's there, it works. I don't have to pile on the concealer and everything every day, which again adds to the acne and the hyper, all of those things that happen with your skin. I wake up in the morning, I put some moisturizer and some sunscreen on, and that's all you want. That's it.
Wow. Yeah. So that. What about you, Vanessa, Hayet, in terms of, what do you do when you go to the spa or the esthetician? Let me start with you.
I love my dermatologist. I love her down. So she has me on that routine that I told you all about. So I definitely go to the dermatologist a lot because she also does my Botox. Since we're talking about filler, we're talking about Botox. I am a strong proponent of Botox. I've been getting Botox since my 20s. And I love it. I love how it makes my face look fresh, and I don't look tired, and certain wrinkles and things are deep in my family. They tend to run on my father's side, and we're trying to prevent that from happening. So I do get Botox, I do peels, I've done lasers, Yeah, all that fun stuff.
And again, natural looking beauty. I'm just telling you, looking great. What about you, Hayet?
So I'll do facials maybe once a year, but I think
Once a year? Did you say once a year?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had to learn that too. Of like, oh, this, because I used to think like, oh, you had to be rich to go like to a spa, and like that just felt like, you know, you should be saving your money and stuff like that. So I'll try and do that. But I think to me, one of the things that I do as like my primer for my skin is even just in the stuff I eat, and also just like hydration. And I think I'll know when like, okay, you need to get out those water bottles that say 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Like I can see, especially how like my makeup will wear when like I know I haven't been drinking enough water. So I kind of try the inside outside approach as well.
And you're leading me right into the next question I was going to ask you, because skin care and skin wisdom, all of that is more than skin deep. So it's all about health and how we take care of our bodies and what our regimen is. So why don't you elaborate a little bit more about what you do to stay healthy? Obviously, water, as you guys can see, I'm going through like 100 million water bottles. Yeah. I completely agree with you about being hydrated is so important for your physical body.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I'm known for is I'll train like 5 to 6 times a week at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., go back to bed, wake up. So I'm a big proponent of like strength training, and you know, every now and then I'll go on one of my weird things, like I'm vegan for like 3 months, and then I'm like, oh, and then I'll be like, I'm only eating seafood, so I'll go through like different phases. But I think what I love is I give myself room to be like, yeah, guys, that was so last week. I'm no longer this. I love to experiment or try different things, and then also just trying to, I think Blake said we have to have gratitude that we're able to age. So I think it really is that idea of taking care of your body from the inside out, because it's sort of, that's the one thing we have. And you know, I've seen different people who can't make it just because of choices they've made. So I think that's what's made it really important.
Right, that is so important. What about you, Vanessa?
I need to be better with my water intake. I'm not gonna lie. So definitely being hydrated, watching what I eat. I keep it simple. Now that's one thing I will keep simple. I don't stress too much about diet or even exercise. My husband would yell at me about always letting our Peloton just sit there and collect dust. So I'm not big on exercise or anything like that, but I like to do things in moderation. I just never try to take it overboard and give myself grace. When I feel like things are getting a little out of hand, that's when I'll rev it up.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just try to give myself grace and indulge in moderation.
Keyword, moderation. And we hear that word tossed around so much. It's kind of, I find it tough to do. You know what I mean? To maintain or be consistent with that whole idea of moderation. But it's something that we got to try for. What about you, Blake?
So for me, this is the part where it gives me to know. I really had to change my relationship with my body and like how I'm treating my body within the last couple of months. I think I've always been like an overthinker and a worrier, and I kind of just accepted it as part of my personality. But I don't know, the last 6 months I've developed like really debilitating anxiety. And so in order to kind of get a handle on that, I've had to, change what I'm eating, make sure I'm sleeping enough, having a work-life balance. That's not something that I've ever really had. I come from an academic background. I went to Spelman for undergrad. I went to NYU for grad school. I went to Tulane for law school. So I've always been like a really rigorous, regimented person. And I think that caught up to me. And I've really just had to change my relationship with what does success look like for me? What does self-care look like for me? And it can't be burning myself into the ground. And so I've started to keep a food journal, just making sure I'm eating 3 meals a day. And I prep fruit at the beginning of the week so that I can have like healthy snacks throughout the week, because like I wasn't sleeping and my heart was racing all the time and I'm crying, and I like the anxiety was just to a place where I literally could not function. Right. And I needed to change that. So I've really like the last, starting December into this new year, I've been like, you've got to do something different if you want a different outcome. So I really have been like pumping a lot into just like my physical being these last couple of months. So
And have you noticed a difference?
yeah, like actually, it was funny. I posted on Threads recently. I was like, this is gonna sound like a small win, but literally for the first time in 4 months, I went a week without like having a panic attack or having an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
Like for the past 4 months, like that has been my life on a constant loop. So just days when I can just make it to the end of the day without like feeling like I'm dying, literally, like that's a success for me. And I feel like eating differently, sleeping has made a world of difference. I'm a person, like I will be up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I am working. And I've had to force myself to like close the laptop, go to bed, turn the TV off, like stop doing the things.
Right.
And it's made like a world of difference. It's a slow change.
Yeah.
But it's certainly made a difference.
What would you say was your breaking point to make you realize, like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep going at the rate and the
Val,
pace
don't
and the
do
speed
this.
that I was going.
Don't do this. When I couldn't get out of bed, like I literally could not get out of bed every day, and finding any sort of joy in my day was impossible because I literally felt like every waking moment of my life, I felt like I was dying. And like, there's just so much pressure, so much anxiety, so much to like, and then you add in social media to that, which is like my job, right? My job is to show up here every day and show you this product and show you this paint color and show you this and show you that. And like, I had none of that left in myself to give to anybody, much less myself. And so December, I shut down my Instagram, I shut down my TikTok. Like I didn't post a single thing. It was me and my dog in my bed every day. And like, luckily I have the kind of dog where he's like, oh, we in the bed today? We in the bed today. So, you know, like I took a moment where I was like, I needed to re-regulate my central nervous system because I was being stimulated all day, every day by like everything. And it just was causing me so much anxiety that I quite literally could not get out of bed. So that was my breaking point. And then having the guilt of feeling like you have this like beautiful life and you worked so hard and you made it to this place that you have wanted to be since you were a little girl and you can't get out of bed.
Right.
Like that felt gross to me. I couldn't process that feeling. So I needed to do something about it. So
A detox, a social media detox. How many of you all have done that before where you've just like 1 month off, 2 months off, a week off, a day off, where you just, I think how you just either posted that,
I also
you
just
did
came off
something,
one,
you just posted something that said, I'm back.
Yeah.
I think that's part of helping with mental health, right? That's a part of that.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, I think for me, sort of similar around that time, it was like getting to the holidays. So December is a hard month for me because my birthday was there, but my dad died December 4th. My late sister's birthday is December 7th. And then on January 14th, my sister-in-law died on the same day as my sister. So it's like I have a span of time where you don't talk to me. And it was sort of getting to the holiday season. You know, I'm supposed to be focusing on my brand and, you know, holiday season, everybody's spending. And, you know, I was having breakdowns and it was delayed grief. Because even though all of these folks had died, let's say within the last 4 years back to back, my dad died the day before I was launching my candle brand, and I was on a brand shoot the next morning. And it was just like, okay, let's go. Or like, anytime someone died, I was like, okay, anyway, they're dead, I'm still alive, let me get back to work. And then 4 years later, I'm like crying as if it happened yesterday. And so I was like, okay, I'm heading to Ghana for 2 months. And then I told some of my team, here's my Instagram password, give it back to me on February 4th. So I said, this is the date, but I was saying that like December 2nd. And so it was like, I tried like, oh, okay, can I just see, I wanna see what, and there's like, no. And so February 4th, I got a text that said, your password. But I have realized it has changed how much I reach for my phone, because I don't know if you felt it, but there's a reflex where your hand goes.
Yes.
Or like you go like, it's like you start searching Instagram, it's just like a passive thing you are naturally doing. And like you see that reduce, or also your impression about the world, you can form your own thoughts. Because anything you see becomes your thoughts. And trust me, this is a girl who worked at Instagram, and I'm telling you, like, you have to curate what you what you want that serves your life. Because like when I came back on any site that is like social gossip or celebrity this, I'm like, remove. And like, I just watch like funny people dancing and I'm like, that gives me joy and you know, that's fine. So I think it is super important because I'm sure all of these high stresses do affect our skin if we come back there as well. When people are having like stress breakouts or those kind of things. So I think it's super important that every single thing you do is part of that skin story as well.
And so you really felt that break was beneficial for you?
But you do feel the guilt because the first day I opened the Instagram, I had over 200 messages saying, where are you? And then I felt anger because I was like, damn, I can't even just take a break. But it was sort of also people saying, I watch your content every day. I need you to come back online. And you sort of have this like relationship where you're just like, no, I don't want, and like you kind of go through like deep moments where you're just like, wow, but I have a community who cares where I am. But also, that could also be the problem that I had to perform. You know, I had to perform happiness, I had to perform wellness, I had to perform joy so that everybody could be inspired to give themselves those things in their life. So there is a level of guilt that also comes with prioritizing yourself, but I think we should all do that at some point in time.
You know, you guys have kind of touched on this idea of having to show up on Instagram a certain way because that's what the people expect of you, because that's what you put out there. Have you ever considered giving them the not so pretty?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I definitely do. And I think my experience with taking a break was the opposite. I came back to messages, but I came back to messages of like, I know you're taking a break right now. I'm so happy that you're doing that. Take the time for yourself. We'll be here. Don't worry about it, girl. Do your thing. And I think, again, what she mentioned earlier is like having started blogging, content creation, whatever we're calling it, as early as we did. I started in 2009 when I was graduating from college. These girls have women now. We've grown up together and have become a community. Like I've had days where like I was sick and women would message me and be like, hey girl, I'm a flight attendant. If you need something, I'll come fly to Chicago and get you.
And these are people that you don't necessarily know?
Wouldn't know them out of a lineup. Couldn't pick them. Wow. But they have become a part of my community. Similar, like I said, I grew up in foster care, so I don't have like the traditional family. Holidays can be tough for me. I'll have girls reach out and like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I live in Chicago. Me and my family are getting together for Christmas. You're welcome to come. I'm meeting a girl tomorrow because she cooked some gumbo and she wanted to bring me a plate, so I'm going to get some gumbo. Like, we're gonna meet at Time Out Market. She's gonna bring me some gumbo. So I'm like, I have like a really amazing community, and in the moments where I'm like, listen guys, I don't have it right now. I got nothing to give. They're like, that's okay, you've given us enough. And so I appreciate that always.
Yeah. Vanessa, I want to get you into this conversation just about, you know, obviously your role as an influencer and how it's affected. Has it affected your mental health and how you may or may not deal with that?
Yes, I don't see myself as an influencer. I see myself as a business owner who has to show up online. And just talking about community in general, like my community followers, I feel very connected with them because I don't always show up so perfect. They've seen when I was packing orders in my dining room to now having a 7,000 square foot warehouse and office, you know. They've seen and been on this journey with me. So I can always be in my stories on my bonnet or go live, you know, in my bonnet or go live. They have seen all of that. I really don't have the luxury right now to take those sorts of breaks. One day I'll have a team that I'll be able to trust with.
And I like how you said one day, like you're manifesting that, not if, but when that happens.
I have a team that runs my business page, but my personal page, that is just me. And so I feel like I have to show up because I have 2 little boys to take care of, and that is my job, is making sure that this brand gets as much publicity and engagement as possible. And I think that showing up as my authentic self is really the reason why I feel like we've been as successful as we are now.
Absolutely. Ladies, you guys are fantastic, by the way. We have some questions from the audience right now. I see a young lady right here. Oh, okay. Does anybody have a question? question from the audience that'd like to get into this conversation? It's been really dynamic so far. Whether you want to talk about skincare, your AMBI story to share with us, anything, anybody? The quiet group. I'd love to hear it.
Been awesome, by the way. So my AMBI story.
Do you mind standing up so we can see you? Is this Nurse B? Hey.
So my AMBI story is a little traumatic. So about 6th grade, I ended up with chicken pox, which is kind of late for getting chicken pox. But my mother thought that they were flea bites from our dog. So she was treating me with alcohol. Like, oh, we just need to like get them down and all this stuff. But I'm like, they're not burning like regular chicken pox. They're burning like really, really bad. And she's like, no, it's okay. Like, we have to do this. So eventually she's like, oh my God, like she hasn't had chicken pox. So I ended up with just scarring all over my neck, my body, my arms, my legs. And I had an older brother and sister. We're like 4 and 5 years apart. And they would do the connect the dot thing. Like, oh, let's play connect the dots on Ronnie. Or, oh, she's wearing polka dots today. No, she's not. That's her skin. So it was so traumatic. And I just like literally wore sweatpants and sweatshirts in summertime. Like, I just wanted to be completely covered up so nobody could see these scars on my body. So eventually my mom's like, we gotta get these scars off of her. So she was like dousing me down with cocoa butter and like treating me with AMBI. So eventually they went away, right? Because AMBI is amazing. But to this day, I don't have those scars. I am completely clear skinned, where people are like, Ronnie, you have such beautiful skin, you don't have scars. And that was far before dermatology ever became a part of my life. And so my mom's not here anymore, but I'm sure she would be so proud today to see that I spoke about AMBI today on television. She'd be so happy and so proud. So that is my AMBI story. And I am so appreciative of this brand for making sure that I didn't have to live with those insecurities for the rest of my life.
And it's really something how trauma can come from people you don't know and people in your own family, you know, so thank you for that part. Thank you for being vulnerable and transparent and telling your story as well.
So I don't have an actual story, more so the key piece too about skin wisdom. You know, when we think of wisdom, we always think about someone more mature than us, be it a role model, a female role model, a mom, a sister, an aunt. But of course, where we are right now, and of course having these lovely ladies who are in social media, just wanted to say that, you know, part of the skin wisdom is now reverse, because people are giving wisdom to their mom, to their aunt, to their great grandmother. And it's like, really, whoever has a younger daughter, especially in the room, what are your teenage or your preteen or your daughters in general, whatever their age is, what are they sharing with you? So curious to know. And of course, if you don't have direct children, are you sharing anything with your mom? Anyone that you've influenced? Because this conversation is going 2 ways.
You know, that's a great question. And it's interesting that you brought that up. I was doing a Black History Month event yesterday where it was a fireside chat. And one of the topics that came up was reverse mentorship. And I had never heard of that before. So you think of a mentor as like, I'm going to mentor some young person who wants to get into TV. Well, what about that person giving me something that I don't know, as kind of getting to the dinosaur age in TV? I'm almost 30 years in the game. But then you have, you know, the ones who are coming up now who aren't sending big old 3/4-inch resume tapes out. Now they have a YouTube link and they can just email it to a news director and, you know, get a job like that. Whereas I'm carting bags to the post office, you know, back in the day, mailing them out all across the country to try to get that job. But to your point specifically about skincare, I have a 21-year-old daughter who, you know, I've taken to the dermatologist. I did all of that stuff, unlike, you know, necessarily what my mother did with me. But she now is the mother to me sometimes because, confession, obviously I wear makeup for work, and I work long hours and long days, and there's some days where I sit down on the couch and I still have my makeup on. I may be watching TV with my husband and my son because my daughter's at the senior at Howard University. So I may be sitting there watching TV. Next thing you know, I'm out. Full face of makeup. Knocked out on the couch. And next thing you know, it's 2:45 in the morning or 3:45. Those are my two alarms I deal with in the morning. And I wake up like I just got my makeup done from work. So she has been really on me about how unhealthy that is for my skin. She has been on me about the type of product that I use on my skin. So it's interesting how I should be reminding her of those things about, you should need to wash your face and make sure you use toner and don't do this, don't do that. Whereas now she's like taking that role with me and advising me and reminding me of the things that I know. But I think that's the thing about young folks, and because they have access to all this information on social media and they're keeping up with the trends and they know everything on the TikTok. I sound like an old lady. The TikTok, the Facebook, on the FaceTalk. Exactly, I've said that so many times down through the years on Windy City Live. Oh, the Facebook, oh, the Instagram. But yeah, so I think this whole notion of reverse mentorship is a real thing, and there's so much value in the idea that this mentorship and this advice is twofold. It's two-way. It's a two-way street. We can all learn from different generations.
Yeah, and I have a 16-year-old niece, so I'm helping my brother raise her. And so I thought I would, I never wanted to step into her mom's role, but I thought I would repeat the same thing I had with my mom, where it was like, skincare time, and she lives in Germany, so we'll get on FaceTime when she's getting ready for bed, kind of replaying that intimacy. And I thought I'll be like, okay, and don't forget this. And then she goes, Auntie, this is what you have to do. So she'd be like, okay, Korean skincare is in right now. And I'm like, okay, tell me. And then it's like, now you have to try this and that. So I think that is a beautiful moment. But I think what is very interesting is back in the day, you would feel this urge to say, I'm older than you, I know better. But I think it is a freedom we're giving the younger generation. Say, okay, tell me. Even if I know it, I'm just like, wow, really? Cleanser? Oh dear, tell me more. So I think that is also how we are building confidence in them to be able to say years later, I was the one who taught my auntie how to clean her face. So I think there is something special there.
And I think at the end of the day, we're all students of life, right? So we don't know who those teachers are and where those lessons come from. So your niece is, taking you to school. Even if you know it or don't know it, there may be a nugget in there where you're like, oh, actually, I did not know that, or I had not heard of this before, that you're learning from her. So that's really cool and awesome. That was a great question.
I had a quick question. We have a lot of people in the audience who are themselves influencers and industry leaders and emerging influencers. Did you have any advice on or encouragement of how they continue to go and kind of build their brand?
That's a good question. Who wants to take that first? Because you guys all built your brand very well.
I think one of the things about being, I'm not sure who I'm talking to, but one of the things about being an influencer is not aspiring to become one. You already are one. I think about if you go to a grocery store and someone says, do I get this cut of chicken or that cut of chicken? If you give someone information that influences their choice, you are an influencer. So the first thing you have to tell yourself is that it's not a follow account. It's not, your page looking all beautiful and shiny that makes you an influencer. So let's start by telling yourself every day, I am an influencer. It's not, I'm a little influencer. I think Kelly Rowland did an interview that says, don't little anything. So you are an influencer. Even if your friends say, ooh, look at her trying to be an influencer, puff up your chest and say yes. And very soon you will be having a benefit of my brand invite. So get with the program. So I think it's starting there. And also I think everyone on the panel has said, being your real self. Whether you're having a good day, whether you're having a bad day, as long as you show up there, what you're going to build is authentic connections that they feel like they see themselves in you. Because everybody at the end of the day is searching for someone online who fulfills something they needed in their everyday life. And show up with your story. If your story is you love to eat pineapples with the skin on, there's somebody in the world who loves to eat pineapples with skin on too. And then you guys will form a community. So don't over curate it. Don't say, I want to be this. Be your life and the right people will kind of come around you.
First of all, thank you guys for your vulnerability tonight. You've really impacted me personally. I can't speak for everyone else in the room. But can we talk a little bit about how we're told that black don't crack? I am in the middle of a little vulnerable moment. I've had a bit of a, what do you call it, a midlife crisis? Am I midlife, quarter life? What am I? But I recently turned 34, and as my stylist says, oh, you've got some sparkles coming in. So I've got some gray hairs, a little patch. I'm gonna look like Rogue from X-Men eventually. But I'm also seeing wrinkles. I'm also seeing hyperpigmentation that I've never seen before. When you all saw yourselves or noticed that you were aging a bit, because, you know, black women don't age, what did you tell yourself to, you know, boost your confidence? What did you tell yourself to give you a little bit more, you know, I can step in as my authentic self and loving myself and really realizing that you're still beautiful even as you start putting on a couple of years?
Or what did you do to fix it?
I can grab that one. Only because I feel as though, so I'll be 36 this year as well. And I have little grays popping up too. But I think that that's sexy. I don't know, like something about getting older has made me more confident. I feel like I like myself a lot more in my 30s than I did in my 20s. But also just having the access that there are things that you can do. And that whole black don't crack, it's true. You know, we do have some great melanin in our skin, but at the same time, there are a lot of people in Hollywood that have Hollywood secrets, you know, that involve a lot of things. So I feel like as long as you're comfortable doing things, you know, might be Botox or filler or anything that might make you feel better about yourself, then just do it. Like, I think that there is this stigma, especially associated with black women. I personally feel that way, that, you know, they don't think that black girls get filler or black girls don't get Botox. And that's just not true. And I feel like we might hide it well. But I think that as long as it's something that will make you feel more confident and you can put your best face forward, no pun intended, I say go for it.
Thank you, ladies, for being here today for this discussion on skin wisdom, of course, presented by AMBI. Shout out to our audience. Give yourselves a round of applause. This has been a very engaging group, a very insightful conversation, lots learned, lots talk about, and all the best to each and every one of you on your skincare journey.